welcome everyone to the first courses workshop. Just introduce myself. I'm Morgan. I'm CoachAccountable's Director of Customer Love and Handholding. That is my real title. And also from the CoachAccountable team, we have Jacqueline. She will be helping you out by answering questions in the chat throughout the main portion of this workshop. So you can, she'll be posting links and things. You can export the chat or save it at the end if you like. Couple of housekeeping notes. This is a 90-minute workshop, just to be clear, because a lot of our meetings and webinars are 60 minutes. So just to let you know, it's 90 minutes. So if you have to leave early, that's fine because it will be recorded. Originally, we weren't going to record it, but there was a lot of demand for it being recorded. So we are recording it. I don't know when I'll get the recording out, but as timely and in a fashion as I can. So, but we will send it out. And then with how popular this one was, we had almost 150 people sign up. We will be doing another one. We don't have set dates for that, but we'll keep you apprised of when that'll be. All right, so here's a little bit about what we are doing today. First thing we'll do is go over the basics of course building in general, and then cover some tips and tricks. And then we will look at two specific courses that a couple of you are building, and we will build those together. We've already selected them. So if you were feeling like, oh my gosh, is someone going to pick one of my courses? Don't worry, it's already selected. And also thank you for all of you who did submit your course ideas. There were some awesome ideas in there. And, if you don't end up building them right now, we might, consider them for the future. It was wonderful to see that. And thank you all also for sharing your where you feel you're at in the levels. We've got everyone here from pretty veteran course builders who are just looking for a couple tips to people who have never built a course before. Some of you are brand new to the system. This will work for all of you. I promise you'll all get something out of it, or your money back. And during the time that we're building the courses, we're going to split off into two groups. The main group here in this exact room will be me building one of our coaches' courses, and the other group will go with Jacqueline, and she'll build a different type of course. So we will go over what those look like before we get there. Any questions before we get started? Okay, so let's get started with the basics of courses. Now, we do have a webinar on building courses that goes a little bit more into the depth of what are they for. So courses can be used for a few things. Obviously, first of all, the normal course setup where people can purchase your coaching and start going through the content. Maybe right now you're using something like Teachable, Kajabi, Coursera, Skillshare, one of those. You could potentially drop those systems and do all of that through CoachAccountable. So that's obviously the main one, regular old courses. There's also the ability to mass assign a sequence of things. For instance, if everyone you coach has to go through these 5 setup steps or these 3 intake forms or these 5 things, whatever, that is a good use of courses. So you don't have to remember to send these things every time. And then the other reason you might want to use courses is for an email drip sequence or some automated dripped content. So maybe you're just checking in on people every week or so and wanting to make it feel like you wrote it by hand, but maybe your brain can't, hold on to, let me see if I wrote them that email. Instead, you just set off that sequence. This is good for automation of like a daily check-in, a weekly check-in worksheet, so that you can kind of set it and forget it and make sure that you are still tracking all of the things that you want to track with those people. So I'm going to do the screen sharing thing, and we'll look at the course builder itself. So everyone's seeing this okay? Nodding thumbs up. Cool. Okay. So this is a brand new account. I started this just a couple of days ago. So for those of you who are just starting, I didn't really put anything into it except for a couple of little course things here. So yours might look fairly similar to mine. So let's take a look at the course builder. So going over to courses and then creating a new course. What's here? A couple of things. Obviously, you want to name it. And then we can choose how long we want it to be in either days or steps. Day-based is you control the cadence of items, and step-based is they control the cadence. And so day-based means the items in your course are delivered in relation to basically a calendar. You can set items to go out at certain times and days relative to whenever someone starts the course. These are great for the email drip campaigns, 6-month program with a set schedule, that kind of thing. And then the step-based one is for when they are doing a self-paced program. They'll work through the content on their own, and they only move to the next step once they've completed everything in the previous step. And so these step-based courses are great for module-based learning. Decide whether the items should be delivered in your time zone or the participant's time zone. Sometimes those are the same, obviously, but it's nice to have that difference. And then visibility. Sometimes there's some confusion around this. So this is basically, do you want them to see that they're in the course? And that's either of these two. And if so, whether they should be able to tell what's being delivered later in the course or just see what was previously delivered. So this is they can see what's coming up, and this is they can see what they've already done. Now, please note that they will always see the items that have been delivered by the course. So if I make this hidden, and for instance, my course assigns a worksheet, they'll still get the worksheet and be able to see the worksheet. They'll still get an action and be able to see an action. Those will live in the worksheets and the actions respectively. This is just, do they know it came from a course? So if you're doing one of those drip sequences, you probably don't want them to know, right? Oh, my coach scheduled this email to say, hi, how are you in 3 days from now? You probably want that to be hidden. And finally, depending on the visibility settings here, we can choose whether we want there to be a course page. And of course, there's this little thing that you can click here. So the question to ask yourself when you're considering whether you should have course pages is the course client facing or just admin facing? So a course page is the place that the clients will go to actually work through your course content instead of just doing the items where they live. Again, the worksheets will be in the worksheets, actions will be in the actions, all the things will be where all the things are supposed to be. The course page is, do you want them to work through that in a course or just receive the items and do them? So that's whether we would use course pages or not. So I'll turn that off for now. We'll start with a day-based course, 30 days long. And go ahead and create it. So we have now this blank timeline, and we'll take a look at the course builder tools over here. So you can hover over any of these things to find out what they are, or you can double click them to see, what is this thing? Tell me about what an action is. So for those of you who are newer, this might be a really good way to figure out, like, why would I use an action? What's the point? That kind of thing. So we have, all of those tools here. And you can also add a day anywhere into the timeline. If say like, I really like to have a day in between these two. Now our course timeline is 31 days long. So for my first couple tips here. So for things like worksheets, very common, you want to build these in the library first rather than building it inside the course. Couple reasons for that. One is any changes that you make to a worksheet in your library will affect everywhere that worksheet is, anywhere that you're assigning it to clients. If it's in multiple courses, it'll automatically update across the whole system, basically. If you just build it in this course, it's not there in your library. So build it in the library first. The other thing is, if you delete a worksheet out of the course, or if you delete an entire course, that worksheet's gone if you built it inside the course. You really want to build all of your content inside the library first. And the same thing goes for files. You will save yourself a lot of time and frustration if you put all your files into the library first. So reduce work by doing that. So that's one of the big first steps before you start building the course. Moving on from here, show timeline dates as if the course started on a particular date. This is the number one biggest confusion that we have about courses. People looking at the as if date and looking at a different as if date. So what is this thing? So really make sure you pay attention to as if. Now you're building this course outside of any real dates. You could start this course on today. I could start this course next September 3rd. I could start it on Saturday. So like what this is for is planning things out. Say that you're planning a course to go in November and it's Thanksgiving in the US and you want to avoid people getting homework on a big holiday. You could do that by planning with this as if date. So you can move around and see what it'll look like. You can avoid weekends and homework on the weekends and things like that if that's appropriate. The other way to do that is you can say, should always start on a blank. So I'm building it on a Tuesday. Maybe I always want it to start on a Tuesday. I can do that. And then I will avoid any stuff happening on the weekends. And then I just have to remember that I'm starting everyone on the Tuesdays, and the system definitely helps with that. So you can play with this to avoid holidays and things like that. And then finally, if you plan to run this course for a group, you want to tick this box to show the group course settings. That'll allow you to set the privacy levels for each item that the course is going to automatically assign. Now, note that this little box, excuse me, will only show in day-based courses. Why? Only day-based courses can be assigned to a group. Here's why on that. Imagine you have a group in a step-based course. It's 10 people and 9 of them have done everything in step 1. What happens? And then one other tidbit on groups, the items will be delivered in your time zone, regardless of if you've set when you were building the course, set it to my client's time zone. The reason for that is avoiding weird stuff. If you have group members who are on different time zones in different days and, things like that. So like, someone's on tomorrow. We don't know when people are supposed to get what. And then a couple other tips on navigation here. So I recommend that you, as you're getting the course timeline pretty full, that you collapse all items. Right now, obviously that did nothing because I have no items in the timeline, but that will help you move around quickly, and we'll take a look at that in a bit. Also for navigation, you can click on any day over here and we jump to that day in the timeline so that you can quickly take a look at what's happening later in the timeline and things like that. So as I mentioned, you can add days in between. Now, if you want to extend the timeline by a lot, like let's say I want this to actually be 60 days, I don't have to drag plus day 50 times or whatever. So I can do that in the course's basic settings, and that's where we'll go next. So here's where I can change the name. Here's where I can extend the length to be, say, 90 days. I can change this setting. I can change this setting. And then I can add the course pages in if I want it later. And I can also display progress meters. This is just the thing that shows how far along is the client. It will show for them and for you. I'm 32% done. I'm 86% done. I can see how far along I am. Here's also where you can upload a thumbnail image so that it displays. We'll generate one for you, but you can use this little generating thing to create another one, or you can just make one on your computer, however you make it, and upload it here. So I'll save that. And now you see this thing that popped up, preview page display. Right now that won't show anything because of course we have nothing in here. And we'll go back to the course builder and look at this. This immediately went up to 90. And over here, I have a couple other new options. So I now have a course section and page content. Course section is basically the header, and it will create a menu item on the left for the client. So it'll be on the left as they're going through it. Page content is whatever text, images, videos, whatever you want to display on the course's page for the client. And we'll see a little bit more of what does that look like and what does it mean in a minute here. So the basic use of these tools, you just drag an item onto a day, and then you just kind of set it up as normal. So this is just like building a regular action for a regular person. What is it? When's it due? How long do they have to do it? And then here we have the client visibility, where I mentioned earlier, the group course settings. What do we want it to be as if it's assigned to a group? So, we have 4 options here. I won't go through those now, but basically you get to decide how much you want the group to see of each other's progress. So we'll make a quick action called attend course workshop with Morgan. And sure, we can do that. Save. And now I want to show you how to create a following item. This means that once the coachee completes this action, the system triggers the release of whatever's next. This is a way to nest strings of dependent items together. So that can allow your course to be sort of a hybrid between day-based and step-based. Basically, item 1 is delivered at a particular day on a particular time, and then the following items get sent whenever they complete this. So I'm going to make another action happen as soon as they mark that they attended the course workshop. It's going to be called Do a Victory Dance. And I expect everyone here to do a victory dance once we're done, because this is a lot. So, okay, again, we've got, day, when it's due, what's the visibility if we're doing a group, any reminders, and save. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. This arrow means that this item is dependent on that item. So that's one way to tell. Now, if I want to, one other thing to keep in mind here is if I'm sending a notification of this action, remember, this one is not going to happen until they mark off that they attended the workshop. Now, if I have this notification message go, hey, you have a new action, if they're logged into the system at the time, this will come as a pop-up rather than an email. So Coach Accountable works to not double notify people. So it will come as a pop-up. And that's also a frequently asked question. Hey, why didn't they get the email? Well, they saw it as a pop-up. If they are not logged into the system when they mark this action done, they will receive this next thing via email. So how could they be not logged into the system when they mark the action done? Couple ways. One is they could respond to a text message. If they've got a text reminder that says, hey, Morgan, time for you to attend course workshop with Morgan, it's due. I can text back, done, and it will mark it done inside Coach Accountable without the client ever logging in. Same thing with an email reminder. Again, hey, Morgan, your thing's late, whatever. I can reply to an email, done, and that would mark it done. And then I would receive this as an email rather than a pop-up. Any questions there? Okay, cool. So now here's another big question that we hear a lot. That is, when I'm doing something, adding to as a following item, when you're dragging something new into the timeline, what happened with it? So basically the solution here is just read what it says. Read very carefully what it says. So here I'm adding a new worksheet to this day. That means it's not part of a following item. It's not dependent on anything else. I can say what time it goes out. Now, if I put it here, add new worksheet to follow completion of this action. That means they got to finish the action before they receive the worksheet. And you can also drag something to the top of it. Precede this action with a new worksheet, meaning this would come before that. Let's see what that looks like. So here's what our first worksheet is. We'll do our pre-session check-in. And now we have an arrow. This happens first, then this happens, and then our action happens. So just read what it says and pay attention to that. Another tip on following items. Please don't make a metric a following item. Now, if I, for instance, drag the metric to follow completion of this action, that means that in order for this metric to start, they have to finish this, and this. Now, we know the likelihood of people getting all the way through this on the same day is probably kind of low. Now, what if they never even do this worksheet? Guess what? The metric never kicks off. Or what if they do this 3 weeks later, even though it's due 3 days later? The metric starts 3 weeks later. So highly recommend that you do not make a metric dependent on anything else. Sometimes that's a question that we run into as well. So, of course, we want to assume that everyone's going to do everything on time for when we assigned it for, but, people are people, right? So we want to cut those things off at the pass if we can. And if you want a metric to start on a particular day, please go ahead and refrain from making that a dependent item or following item. Any questions on following items? Okay, a few other timeline tips. So I'm going to collapse all the items here. Now this one's not collapsed because I didn't do it. I'm going to not add that metric, follow my own advice here. So if you are dragging items around, use the little hand. Now be very careful. Again, just read what you're doing. Move it to this day, move it to this day. You can move things to be dependent on each other. So if I went ahead and dragged an action, I can drag, oh, it's supposed to be air. Anyway, I can drag this into a dependency, or I can drag things out of dependency using little hands. So again, just make sure that you're reading what it says. You can also use, I'm going to expand everything again. You can also use these little up and down arrows for things that are happening at the same time. So this action and this action are happening at the same time. I can use this to move these little guys up and down. And so now they are switched with each other, where they both happen at 9, but this one is listed first. And if for some reason you're running into trouble with that and it's on a day-based course, you can also just change the time. So I can just make this go at 8:59 a.m. And of course, that would make it go first, right? So you can always modify things by just 1 minute at a time to kind of arrange things that way as well. Now, another thing to be really careful of is deleting entire days or entire steps. So if I wanted to delete this action, I will edit this and then delete it. Are you sure you want to delete this item? Yep. Now, if I did this deletes the whole day. When things are deleted, they really are deleted. Sometimes we get emails saying, hey, I deleted this thing. Can you put it back? We actually can't. So it's really gone when it's gone. So be very careful. And we do give you this thing that says, hey, do you want to remove this day? Everything will be deleted as well. And if you say yes, I'm sure it really will be gone. So this is permanent. And unfortunately, we can't help with that. So it is really gone. And then one other timeline tip to keep in mind. Do not make changes to or set items for the same day as it is right now. All kinds of weird stuff can happen, especially if you've got someone who's in a time zone that's pretty far ahead of you. So if I were designing a course for our friends in the UK, it's much later there. And if I made a change for today at 10 a.m., guess what? 10 a.m. already happened over there. So nothing happens. So make changes for at least tomorrow or later, basically. Any questions on the timeline itself? Okay, I see your little faces. Nobody's smiling either. That's okay. All right, so we will now take a look at how to put someone into a course once it's already built. It may feel a little out of order, but I want to cover this before we dig into the deep dive of building the courses itself. So 2 ways to put someone into a course. One is from the courses area, of course. So this is our courses area. And I have some folders here. You probably have some from when you signed up as well. We can put someone into a course from here, and we can put someone into a course from their page. So I'm going to do it from my tester clients page. So I will go here and courses. I can click plus course here or plus course here, and pick the course that you want. And you can choose whether you want it to begin on a date other than today, or you can start them at a point other than day 1. Be careful with this as well. If I start them on day 7, they will get anything that went out today if I want, but they will not get stuff from days 1 through 6. So just be careful with this. I'll go ahead and start it on day 1. And here I can again change the visibility as to whether they know they're in a course or not. So I'll go ahead and schedule that. And now I can manage their participation. This right here, this arrow modifies their participation. Here's where I can pause it and then resume it. I can fast forward, and I can, if she were a couple days in or even 1 day in, I could rewind it, and I can also customize it, and I can stop it. And then pay attention to whether you're keeping or deleting, and then fast forwarding. Do you want to give them the things that they would have gotten through days 1? If I want to bring her to day 7, issue the things from days 1 through 6 or not. Customizing. A bit of warning, I would not recommend doing these customizations, especially if you're just starting out with courses. Here's why. If you do one of these spin-off versions and then you make a change to the master timeline, it does not affect all of these custom versions that you have made for these different people. So if I've got 5 people and I did a different version for each of them, that means I have to update the master course, and then I have to update 5 other courses. So that's 6 total updates I need to do. Recommend that you don't do that, especially if you're new. So When you can also see that in someone's courses area, there's a past tab. When someone finishes a course, it moves to their past. Sometimes people are like, they finished the course and it's gone. It's not, it's in the past. Just like the same thing you have with worksheets. When they finish a worksheet, it'll move to completed, that kind of thing. Past courses versus current courses. One other way to start somebody into a course is using an offering. So that way, when they sign up, when they sign up for coaching with you, they start receiving your course material right away. Great for an onboarding course, or here's the 5 things they need to do before we start. We won't be covering the details of offerings in this webinar or this workshop for time purposes, but Jacqueline will put the link to some articles in the chat for you about offerings specifically. So here's how to tell where your client or group really is in the timeline. And this goes back to the as if date. We want to check what day or step the client or group really is on. So I can see, this is the one that we're going to be building. I can see how far along she is because I put on the progress bars for that. I can see she's on step 4 of 8, and she started on August 2nd, which is yesterday. Here I can see the coaching satisfaction. She's on day 1 out of 120. She started today. And so if I click this magnifying glass, I can see what's going on. I started her in the course. Why didn't she receive anything? Well, she doesn't get anything till 6 p.m. her time, which is Pacific time. And so I've got all day till anything happens. So that is how you can really quickly tell where are they in the timeline and what has been released and what hasn't been released. You can also do this from the courses page itself. So she is in the coaching satisfaction. I can see I have one person in progress or one group in progress. And then I can see what's like a basic outline of the schedule, and then who's in it, what day are they on or step, when did they start? And then I can also edit their participation from here. So this is really important to look at, because if I'm viewing this, and I'm viewing it as if it started on the 28th of 2019, August 28th, 2019, this doesn't make any sense. Wednesday, August 28th, what do you mean? She didn't actually start it then. She started it. We're gonna go all the way over to here. Here's when she really started it. Oh, that's 2020. Oh my gosh, I didn't even go far enough. It's like those days don't lie. Okay, here we are, today's date. So this makes more sense to me when I'm viewing it. See, even I make the mistake. So really looking at where are they for real, and then looking at your timeline will help you do any problem solving with that kind of thing. So a couple more tips or frequently asked questions. One thing we highly recommend, test everything out on your freebie client. We say this all the time, and I know you're probably all tired of hearing it, but you really want to make sure you try it all first so that it comes across the way you want it to. It works how you expect it to. There are people who are, yes, you might be having some like guinea pigs in the system as you're getting used to the system to see, is it a good fit for me or not? But you don't want to be just throwing the content in the course and seeing what happens, right? Test it on yourself first. You can fast forward yourself through it if it's like a 6-month course and you want to see how it's all going to go. Fast forward, use that manage participant area that I showed you, and we'll go over a little bit more of that. Another tip that I already mentioned, create your content first. We highly recommend you create it in the library before you start building out your course. So here's a little bit of the checklist that I sent out for everyone who asked, hey, I'd like to submit my course for consideration. To those people that I responded to, I had them confirm a few things. Number one, I have created any worksheets that will be assigned in my course in my library. Number two, I've added any files, videos, PDFs, audio, links to other sites in my library. I've written any copy for any messages that will be sent by the course. I know the order of the items that should be sent by my course. And then the last one is I have attended a group handholding session, or I've watched the Getting Started webinar. The reason we wanted some of that sort of foundation of like, I've watched that thing is sometimes people get stuck on the building a worksheet portion. when they're trying to build the course, then there's kind of too much going on. And so Jacqueline is actually going to share, maybe she's already shared the webinar on designing worksheets. If you're stuck on the worksheet part, do the worksheet part first. Get as much of that out into the library as you can. That webinar is great as far as building form-based worksheets and things like that. So do those things before you start putting them together. So if you think of the course thing as like a mail delivery service, like you have to have the mail ready to go before the carrier is going to pick it up. You can't just be like, here's 500 loose leaf pages, please bring it places, right? Like you have to have it packaged up, ready to hand to the carrier, or they won't take it. So you want the course mail delivery service to just be the structure by which it delivers the content, with the content done. Does that make sense? Thumbs up. Cool. Couple other tips. Metrics don't need to be added fresh every time. Sometimes people will do a thing like, well, I want them to measure something every day, so they add the same metric every day. What that effectively does is create a brand new metric of the exact same measuring thing every single day. So that's really not what we want to do. So again, back to the mail delivery service thing. You want the mail delivery service to be like, here's a metric. This metric runs for 6 months, instead of here's a metric, it runs for 1 day. Here's a metric, it runs for 1 day. Here's a metric, and they do that all every day for 6 months. That's really not what we want. And it gets really annoying for the clients. So what you'll do, if you check this out, at the beginning of this course, we have a metric that kicks off and it runs for 120 days. You can make this even longer than the course itself. You could do a 1-day course that delivers 3 metrics that last a year, and then the course is over, but the metrics are still going because they were just delivered and kicked off. And they'll continue running even after the course was complete. Another frequently asked question, what if you want the course to start over again at the end? We don't have a way to just like make that automatically happen. And I wouldn't actually recommend that. The best way to do this is put a note to yourself. So you can put a message to course participant or to me, the coach, saying, hey, they've completed the course. And that might be a nice prompt for you to check in with them. Hey, how did this thing work for you? Do you want to start it again? Are there some tweaks that we can make? Would you like to start something else? This is where you send yourself a note so that you go in and check. You can do this at any time. It doesn't have to be at the end. And then the final tip that I will give for this particular portion is to be coachable. I know that we're always asking others to be coachable, but really being open to tweaking. How you imagine your course going might not be how it feels for the client. They will give you feedback. And so, in fact, we suggest that you directly ask for feedback often. And actually, not to toot our horns too much, but this course actually asks for feedback on a cadence of about every 30 days. So you have this course and you can use this to ask for their feedback as they're going through your program, and take that feedback and make things more approachable, or, add reminders, remove reminders, do whatever it is going to take to make sure that people can get the content done and be confident in their abilities. Any questions on the building of courses as far as just the basics here? Okay,
and there's actually a couple of questions in the chat, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So the first one is, we talked about adding participants into a course. How do you remove a participant?
Great one. So I put somebody into, I put Morgan Tester into this coaching satisfaction. This same dialog box, the modify participation, this is where I can stop the progression and keep anything that was sent out or delete it all. Nothing was actually sent in this case because it doesn't come till 6 p.m., but I'm going to do that. Are you sure you want to remove Morgan from this course entirely? Yes, I do. And now I see that I have no participants. And then if I go back to Morgan's page, and this is the other place I can do it, of course, when I'm editing someone's participation, and I'm actually going to stop and delete this as well while we're here. Cool. And now she's in nothing. Nothing's in the past. So those ended courses do not move to the past because they are not completed. They were ended, if that makes sense. What else, Jacqueline?
The other one is, there's a little bit confusion confusion on the set and day and groups. So the as if set, as if date, always start on date, and then group, how to enroll a whole group into a course.
Yeah, so let's create a group. That's fine, my new group. And I need to put some people in it. We'll just have us two, me and Doc. So from the groups page, I can go to the groups courses area, and just like a single client, they have a current and a past plus course participation. I pick which one I want. So again, we could set the visibility, schedule that, and now I can see how far along is the group. And then I will also see that now over here, coaching satisfaction, who's in it? I've got one participant, and the participant is a group. And I can also modify their participation, fast forward, customize, blah, 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 and that kind of stuff as well. What else?
There's an ask on if you can review the section and page portion of the page again. So meaning when course pages are set for a group, is the course just one page with multiple sections, or?
Yeah, I'm going to defer that to a little bit later. Thank you. And we will basically, as we're building the course, I think it's one of those things that, like, I'm a visual person. As we're building it, it's going to make more sense than just talking about it. So we actually are building one course that has page sections and page content. So we'll dig into that. What else?
That's it.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to now show you the two courses that we are going to build live. So what I want you to think about right now is selecting which one you would like to watch us build. And before we separate into the two rooms, please keep in mind that this content is copyrighted by the person who wrote it and should be respected appropriately. And they are being very generous to allow us to show their content and record it for you. So the first one was supplied by Coach Todd Payne, and it is a step-based course using course pages. It's about the Enneagram. I'm going to put my tester client into it and actually go through it, and so you can see it from the client side. But before I do that, Todd, could you just say a couple words about the purpose of this course and how you got started with it?
Sure. Thank you so much. And thanks for the opportunity to have you build my course. It feels like a free lunch to me, so I'm thrilled. This course is for people who've never heard of the Enneagram. In my coaching, I use the Enneagram a lot. So I like to give them a chance to be introduced to why I use it and what the basic steps are. And this course goes through all of that stuff.
Thanks. And something that Todd also told me that I wanted to share is with, most of his business going online over the last, obviously, year and a half or whatever, the course occurred to him as a great way to be able to deliver this content in a different format and deliver it to like one to many, like many, instead of maybe just a few. Where, Todd, I think you had been doing live workshops with this before. Is that right?
That's correct. I'd almost exclusively done live Zoom workshops, but I could only, how effective are you beyond maybe 20, 25 people? This also asynchronous, because over the quarantine, I picked up clients in lots of different time zones.
Yeah, love it. So this is, if you're considering doing something like that, a course would be a great way to do this. And you're probably all already here because you are considering something like that, but just to put a little bit of shine a little spotlight on that. So I am going to go ahead, and it's this course right here. So basically this is sort of like a baking show, right? We're like, oh, here I am with the pie and it's already complete. And then we'll go back and build the pie and then it'll be complete again. And so, but this is like, I'm pulling it out of the oven, hot, fresh, and ready, Todd's course. So I am going to go here and then put someone into it. I'm going to put, surprise, Morgan Tester. I'm going to start it right now. I'll let her see. Let's do as far as she's progressed and go ahead and schedule it. So now I'm going to log in as my freebie. And again, we recommend that this is what you do. So I have a courses tab, and you can rearrange these tabs, of course. I'm going to the course, and I see that I'm actually in two of them. So I will go ahead and click on this one. And here is my page, my course page. So I've got, what is the Enneagram? And look, it's Todd, and he's going to tell me some things. And so I'm not going to actually click on this, but there he is in the background. This is a little embedded video. It's 46 seconds. Hi, Morgan. Oh, that's me. Welcome. The self-paced course will take you through the basics, how to use this course. We'll have a lecture. We'll have some reading. Many sections will have a worksheet. I'll get a copy, so I'll be along the journey with you. That feels good. I like that. We'll get together for a personal coaching session. Cool. I love that. What is the Enneagram? A quick taste. Have you ever heard of it? Well, I guess I have. How familiar are you? Let's say intermediate. Do you know your type? Yes, I do. What do you hope to gain from learning about the Enneagram? Things. Cool. So I'm going to complete this worksheet. Todd, you actually won't get an email because this is my coach account. So I got an email that Morgan completed it. And now I can see I've got a little menu here. I can see what's happened, and I can pop myself back and forth along these pieces of my course page. Got a worksheet to do here. It's got this Enneagram model for understanding people, not 9 kinds of people. If you were able to increase aspects of your emotional intelligence, what would you like to improve? Please list 3 aspects in which you'd like to grow. We've got some pre-filled text here. Listening, working with a team. That seems nice. Listening, working with a team, asserting myself. And those are the ones he gave me. Of course, this is not be an acceptable answer in real life, but, and then same thing here. Have you ever felt, and obviously I'm going way faster than I really would in real life. I'd be watching these things, reading these things, learning these things. But in the interest of time, list some types of people: helpful people, argumentative people. Same thing. I'm just copying his answers. Once I complete this, what do I get? Ooh, I got a new thing. A word about tests. It's a video. It's 3 minutes long. Cool. I've got this. Which tests are right for me? Cool. Complete. And so I'm just working my way through this content. And so what else do we got? I got a message, a word about tests. Hey, thanks for hearing my 2 cents about tests. Remember, blah, blah, blah. Here are some things that I can click on. When I do, email that to Todd. And I also got an email as much because this is an email. Grow through the Enneagram. Part 1. And so notice how nicely labeled these things are. I kind of know there's at least more than one part of what I'm looking at here. I'm just going to start doing this thing and complete. And I'm going to get part 2. These are numbered. And I'm like, wait, what was that thing about tests? I can pop myself right back up here, and then I can come back down. So I've got things here. I got things here. And these are all worksheets that Todd has built in here. Now, here's some more page content. This is stuff that he wrote before the worksheet. So this is just on the page here, and then we can see what's inside the worksheet. There's a video in the worksheet. Cool. I'm just going to go ahead and complete this and see what happens. Oh, actually, I have to. What about now? Oh, yeah, I have to do this one too. Okay, so these are required form items that you can add into your worksheets. All right, 5B. And then we get 5C is the next thing. And mark this one done. And all of these, notice they're like a nice bite-sized chunk of content. So these are things that if I only had an hour today, maybe I would have only gotten through those first couple of worksheets. And as I make my way through these, like these are fairly short, they're digestible, they're easy to do. I read 2 paragraphs, watch a 2-minute video, answer 1 question, and that's all I have to do. And then I've completed it. And look, I'm 44% done. I'm almost halfway there. Let's see what happens. I think I might be halfway done at this point. Oh, no. Okay. All right. And now, cool, I made it to halfway. And check this out. I got a new course section, and here's an example of one of those pop-ups. I said, if they're logged in when they do this, they get it as a pop-up. This is my pop-up. And Todd wrote, hey, we're doing another thing. Do you want to do that? Go there. I'm already here. Cool. And this is course section 1. This is course section 2. So that's what those look like in the menu. And I can collapse that and just kind of see my directory of what's happening in the course. So I'm here in key concepts. I've got this. Oh, there's a little animation. Cool. Let's watch it. Fills up the whole screen. Here's all these cute people. Done. Now I get done with that. Show me what's next. Another worksheet. Cool. And we are rocking through this. This is another video. Watch that. Close it. Great. Show me what's next. Talking about intelligence centers. The head center. The heart center. And it said there were 3. I'm expecting 3. Okay, cool. The body center. Great. Uniquely lopsided. Oh, I got a message. Hey, thanks for filling that out. What did you discover? Did you have a guess? I'd love to hear about it. Thanks, Todd. Cool. We got another video. I can watch that here. This is a part of the course page content. Here's a worksheet. Boom, boom, boom. Complete. And we've got, this is labeled part 1. I'm expecting a part 2. Here we go. Cool. And I did it. And I got a video saying, hey, you did it. What's next? And so I have a little bit of stuff here and that's it. Oh, to this. Now that you did it, click here to schedule your free one-on-one session. Where do you think this is going to go? Guess what? It goes to his website, which has a Coach Accountable offering on it, which is where I would pick my time and then finish up filling out that offering and then be registered into that discovery call. So this was exactly everything as it is from the client perspective. So this is door number 1. Door number 1 is building this course page with Todd's content. And I'm going to switch back to my coach account and we'll take a look at door number 2, which is Jacqueline will be leading us through building this course called Daily Practices. Now, this one was built by us at Coach Accountable. You can install it in your account if you don't already have it. I'll show you how to do that. And this one, we're not going to look at from the client perspective. We're going to look at just from the coach perspective, because this one, they aren't able to see as a course. This one is just a very basic delivery system. So we have on day number 1, whenever that day is, it's set right now for April 12th, 2018. We will, actually look at it as starting today. 10:59 a.m. They get the daily practices checklist, which is of course a worksheet that we have already built in our library. Then as soon as they complete that, they get, hey, tracking begins now. You're going to go have some metrics to look at. Then 1 minute after that worksheet goes out, we start a bunch of metrics, minutes of exercise, contacting someone important, minutes of self-care, daily journal, and all of these grab their data from the answers to this worksheet. So Jacqueline's going to show you the ins and outs of piping worksheet answers into metrics. And then what else happens in this course? I'm going to collapse this. All that happens for the rest of the 90 days is this same checklist goes out every day at 11 a.m. And when they answer it, all these answers go into those metrics automatically, nothing else to do. So all of that being said, any questions on the difference between the two before I open up the breakout room? Okay, so we will go ahead and get this thing started. So the course's title here, and I'm going to be doing a lot of copying and pasting, as you might imagine. So I'm going to go pretty quickly through that stuff, but I will show you some of the formatting. So here we go. Empathy through understanding, introduction to the Enneagram. And this course is a step-based course. It is 7 steps long, and I just already know that because we've already built it, but you can always add more as we talked about before. So if you don't put enough or you put too many, totally fine. And we will leave it based on my time zone. We will make it see as far as they progressed or see complete timeline. I'll put it as that. I will enable course pages and I'll go ahead and create. And this looks familiar from what we have before. So first thing we have is a course section. And so this is basically, as we talked about before, this is like the title of this chunk of the course. So the title of this one is pretty basic. What is the Enneagram? Now, whenever they finish this, if there's a button, we want it to say continue to the next section, or we can make it say, I did it, next thing, or we can make it say whatever we want. So you can change that. I will leave this. And I will go ahead and save that. So we have a course section. And now I can see in my navigation, I have this section. Now, next thing that I'm going to put is page content. So that's just like stuff that will be displayed before our first thing to do. So plus page content to the first step. Nope, I'm good. So first thing I'm doing is I'm embedding that welcome video that Todd did. So video icon. I already have it in my library. So this is, again, one of those reasons you want to have this stuff in the library, organized, ready to go. But if I didn't, I could just do this and put the link, and I'm actually going to do that right now. I have the Loom link to the video that Todd made. I'm going to just paste it in here, preview. Look at that. It's our welcome video, and I will embed that right in our page here. Now, he also wrote some other stuff. So I'm going to type some of this in. Hi, client first name. Remember, it filled in with my name. I was like, oh, that's me. So you can just click on this tag and make sure that it's inserted exactly as it is. If you mess with this tag, it will not work properly. So if I change this to lowercase n, that's not going to work. So rather than have you type it and try to get it exact, instead, I just want you to click on that while you've got your cursor in here and it'll fill in. And so now I'm going to paste in some other stuff here. Welcome to Empathy Through Understanding, la, la, la. And then we've got a heading here, how to use this course. So naturally, I'm going to make this a heading. And we have a numbered list here. And I'm going to select this and use in the toolbar the numbered list option. Boom, things are numbered. And then I've got his sign off. And this is already linked. Now, if it wasn't linked, I would just select it and then click this and make it linked. Save that. And now let's preview it. Now, this is something you will want to toggle back and forth between quite a bit. So here's what's going to look like for the client so far. What is the Enneagram? Here's our course section. Here's the video. Hi, Morgan. Oh, it filled in. Cool. Welcome. Here's our numbered list. Maybe I'll put some more spaces there. And then I can exit preview mode and go back in here and add that space. Good. So then the next thing that happens is I want them to get a worksheet. So drag plus worksheet, click here. And again, this numbered business here did such wonders for me to be able to quickly pick the thing I want. And it's easy for the client to know how far they are too, right? So worksheet 1, before we begin, keep it linked to the worksheet template. Again, this will allow you to, if you want to make a change, you do it in your library and it affects everywhere in the system that this thing is being assigned. Highly recommend you do this. Use this at your own peril. This will be a completely different version of the worksheet, potentially, meaning you change something in the library, it doesn't change over here, potentially creating a lot of work for yourself. When's it due? Any reminders? The way that Todd had it set up, we're doing it 3 days later, which is kind of standard. And maybe they'll knock it out right away, but they have 3 days and then maybe reminders, text or email, maybe a notification. And it did it have a notification? No, it didn't. Okay, so save. And now let's take a look at the preview. What is the Enneagram? Here's a video. Here's how to use this course. Here's my first worksheet. And then if I mark it complete, it says, please fill it in. Now, as you're the coach building it, you may want to just skip validation so that people will still have to fill it in, but you don't have to do it every time. That's why we have that button there. And now check this out. Ta-da, I see that something's part of my course section. So next thing is, that's everything in step 1. And here's where we start to see how much room this stuff takes up and where collapse all items is really helpful. So now I'm on step 2. What happens in step 2? We've got some more page content. And I'm copying and pasting here. This is a heading. So you're also seeing a lot of stuff on how to use this, what we call the WYSIWYG toolbar here. And then I will put in the video, and the video is which one is this? This one. And it will embed here into the course page. And that's it for the course page content. And then I will put a worksheet. Guess what it is? Worksheet 02. What is the Enneagram? We'll leave all this the same. Boom. And now you can also see on this timeline here, stuff is happening on step 1 and step 2. No stuff is happening here. I can also see there's this like pointy thing. What does that mean? That means there's a course section that starts on step 1. No course section starts on step 2, just regular course stuff. And then that's it for step 2. Step 3, we've got some more course page content. So as Todd kind of introduces in his course here, most sections are fairly similar. We've got some introduction, we've got some stuff to do, and whether that's reading, writing, worksheets, videos, whatever. So, this is going to be fairly formulaic, and that's kind of a nice cadence for the clients to experience. So we have on step 3, we've got page content, a word about tests. Oops. A word about tests. And all this is just a heading. And there's nothing else to put in here. And then we've got a worksheet. And it is a word about tests. Again, we'll keep all this the same. Boom, that's it. So now we've got some stuff going on in step 3. Step 4, course page content. And this one, this is a heading, and this is just a little blurb. This is divided into 2 separate worksheets. Worksheet for A. Now here's where it's going to get kind of fun. We don't want worksheet 4A and 4B to come out at the same time. We want them to finish worksheet 4A and then receive worksheet 4B. So we are going to do a following item. So I'm going to drag plus worksheet onto, again, we want to read this really carefully, add new worksheet to follow the completion of this worksheet. Great. And we will go with 4B. So when they complete this, they will receive this. And then we're just going to move on to step 5. Now, step 5 is kind of a fun one because we've got a full chain of events that happen out of step 5. So step 5, as usual, we're going to start it with some page content. Emotional intelligence and the Enneagram. And this is going to be our heading. And then we've got a subheading. We're going to make this a heading 3. And then I've got a bulleted list. And again, I can just use the toolbar for that. Now it's a bulleted list. And then I've got a little more text. And now they're going to get worksheet 5A, self-awareness. Once they finish self-awareness, and check it out, this worksheet has a video inside of it, they will then receive worksheet. And again, we have the arrow. See where I dragged it onto there? We've got the arrow. Worksheet 5B, other awareness. Once they complete that, they will receive worksheet 5C, self-management. Once they complete that, they will receive worksheet 5D. Now let me collapse all these items and you can see that this is a nice daisy chain of events. So step 5 includes 4 separate worksheets that need to be done in this exact order. I'm going to stop there for any questions on this, the daisy chaining sequence of these worksheets. What questions do we have?
If somebody takes a step out, let's say in step 2, does the system remind them? Is that where the 3 days comes in? Like, hey, you still have a course to do, or when does the reminder stop?
Yeah. So if they, like you said, took a break and they didn't finish this worksheet, that is where you would want to add some reminders. So a day before, 3 hours before. You can also do, this is kind of a fun thing. You can do -3 days. So what that means is, say that this thing went out today, August 3rd, it's going to be due 3 days later, August 6th. Now, if I want this to go out -3 days later, it's going to go out August 9th. So that even if it's already overdue, they're still going to get a little poke. Hey, go do your thing.
Okay.
And you can do email or text. I don't have text. Go ahead.
Does it, so if you set it as a -3 days, but they've already done it, it's still going to send out the reminder, right?
No
okay.
reminders go out if they've done it. So actually sometimes it's kind of a funny thing where if a client's complaining, I'm getting too many late notices or I'm getting too many reminders, there's a really simple solution called do the work. And you won't get those.
What? Morgan, do the work?
Shocking, right? I know.
I know.
I mean, yeah, sometimes there is something to adjust with the frequency of reminders, but the easiest thing is for them to just do the work if that's the complaint.
So my other question is that you mentioned earlier about it sending you a reminder when they've completed it. Is there a way to send you a reminder if they don't, if they're stuck?
Yes. So in settings, system, notifications, this will be across your entire account. You can also set this to be on a person by person basis. So notify me when an action becomes late, notify them, notify me. And now note that this is a different reminder than, hey, it's going to be late. It is now late. Same thing with worksheets. And you can also say anything about comments when they post a comment. So like say they are stuck and they post a comment like, hey, I don't really know how to answer this. You can hop in, and after you've gotten that via email, you can reply to the email, or you can hop in, you can call that, whatever, so that you've got a little like push.
I've gotten in the habit of ignoring when people do things late. I've gotten in the habit of ignoring those emails. I guess I need to pay attention to the course stuff. So.
Sounds like we should have a coaching conversation.
I'm like, oh, really? Actually, I've tied it to my coaching rewards now that they do their to-dos on time, because I'm a financial coach. So now I have it set up that when they go down to once a month, that their money, how much they pay for coaching, is based on how well they've done their stuff.
Ooh,
I'm like that. So sick of people not doing things when they come to the coaching. So.
Well, anyway. This is another thing. And I mean, it's totally unrelated to building the course, but it's something that I heard of a few coaches doing that I found very powerful. And that is for every item that you do late, you have to donate a certain sum of money to a charity that espouses values that you are totally against. So yeah. Like,
that is hilarious.
That would make you get stuff done. Like, all right, well, this thing's late. You better send $20 over to those people who do things you hate. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to go do the things, right? Like it changes the game.
It does. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Getting people to do their homework assignments. Anyway.
And we do have actually a recorded webinar on making Coach Accountable like a joy for your clients, where the experience is that this is a joy rather than, oh God, another thing. Another thing. Yeah. So anything else on the notifications, reminders? I see you talking, Val.
And no, can you hear me now? I'm so sorry. I'm having battery problems. I'm running around like, no, my battery's dead. 2 very quick questions. So the first is on notifications. What factors should I consider when I'm deciding whether or not I should select that box of send notification to a client?
Well, the thing that and this is a very subjective question. It's really kind of up to you. And this is part of the like playing with it and seeing like, oh, people are saying there's too many or not or enough or whatever. What I would consider is how much stuff is going on at the same time. Because if there's too many reminders, they don't look at any of them. right? Like they just start
That's right.
filtering them straight to trash, potentially like even creating a real filter that sends them straight to trash, right? So we want them to be useful and not overwhelming. So if I think they're going to rock through this whole course in a day, I might minimize the number of notifications that come out. Hey, you're going to have 3 things coming out. If it's a day-based course and you're assigning 10 things, don't do that to them. I would give them like almost like today's syllabus. You're going to get 10 things today. Here's what they are. Go do them in your account. Here's a link to log in. But if this is over a long period of time, like this step-based stuff where, they can kind of do it at their leisure, it might make sense. But if they're also in a day-based course that's sending them a thing every day, so you just want to think about how many emails are they getting per day.
Okay. That's really helpful. Thank you. And then the second quick question is for each step. So if we've enabled for them to see the entire course or all of the steps all at once up front, are they going to be able to go to steps out of order if they would like to? And is there a way to help them do that? Is there a way, how can we help them go into other steps out of order if we wanted to?
No, so it still has to be in order. They can just kind of see what's going to be in the next step, but they can't go do that stuff. If you want them to just be able to kind of do random stuff, it might make sense to create some separate courses where if you want to work on this, do this mini course. If you want to work on this, do this mini course, because it would just be kind of chaos of like, have I done this stuff? What have I done? What haven't I done? Or if it's worksheets, you can give your clients the ability to self-assign a worksheet without it being part of a course. So let me just pop over to the library here and show you if I've got, say, one of these, I want them to be able to do this, say randomly, I can say, allow them to fill this out without me first assigning it to them. However, keep in mind, this applies to everyone. This doesn't only apply to people who sign up for the course. This is everyone. So that is also a commonly asked question. My client got all these worksheets and I didn't assign them. And where did they come from? And why is your system doing this? Actually, you told them they could self-assign and they did 100 times. And then people do that for some reason. So, use that box with caution, but I would break it up into mini courses if you think people may want to pursue different things. And actually, I think that's something that you're going to be doing, Todd, right? Instead of having, because originally this course was, here's the intro, and then here's every type and some stuff about it and whatever. And I think you're going to give people the option of choosing which section they want to do next by the different course, right?
That's right. When I was teaching the courses online, I'm doing it over 8 weeks, 2-hour sessions and this kind of stuff. And when I began to build the courses, I thought, you know what, I can break this into much more manageable chunks. So I'm thinking much smaller than I do for my live presentations.
Yeah, so that's
that question on that then. So we've talked about this, I think, over a year ago, Morgan, but the system has changed now. And that's what I'm seeing. Like now there's new functionality that I'm trying to get used to. So for people that are in job search, I have a 6-step process that they go through. Each step could actually be its own course.
Yes.
But I want them to go through each step in order for the most part. But if all of a sudden you got an interview tomorrow, I want you to have the freedom to be able to skip to step 5, which is all about interviewing. So what is the best way for me to say, I really want you to go through it in this order, all of these courses in this order? Is that just the way that I number them or name them? They like go through this course first, but then no, you can skip ahead if you need to.
Yes, I would do that. And I think ultimately the other thing that we came up with a year ago, which I would recommend again, is creating some offerings where, hey, if you, so that there's a little bit of a hurdle, it's not just like, oh, I'm curious what's happening in this course. And I just kind of poke my head in there. And now I remember that I did some of it, but I didn't do all of it. I would create offerings. Here's where you click to sign up to take this next course if you want to take it separately. And it may be that like, hey, I did step 6 because I did have an interview tomorrow. And then when they reach step 6 in the normal cadence, you can just fast forward them, scoot them through that number 6 because they've already done it, and skip issuing those items. So remember when we were doing the fast forward, you can choose to skip those items. That's how I would do it. It does involve some manual operation on your end later when they do want to skip over that portion. Hey, I already did this. Val, can you please just scoot me through? But it allows them to self-serve. If they suddenly got an interview, it's 2 a.m. They don't have to contact you and be like, hey, I'm waiting for you. And then you're on vacation and whatever. So that's what I would do, is create separate offerings for them to sign up.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. One other thing, when it comes to notifications, it just came to my mind as we were doing this. People ask a lot when, let's say that we're giving a notification of this worksheet. When should we add it to the stream versus just sending it as an email? Some people end up putting everything in the stream, and the stream gets very cluttered and full of stuff. Here's the dividing line that I use. If it's just this general, you have a worksheet, they don't need that in their stream. They're not going to ever need to look back at that. Now, if I did put something like this is really important because here's how I want you to look at it. That kind of thing. I'm giving you something that you don't have inside the worksheet. This is actually valid content that I want you to still have later, not just in your email inbox, but in Coach Accountable as well. That's when I would tick the box for add this to the stream. I'm going to cancel that. Okay.
I have a question about the client name links and all that. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to put in, for example, I get people who, I'll start them on a course, but they haven't created their profile yet, for example. So they need a magic link first as their first step. So, and I'm finding this in, different areas the other thing is I would love to hey, so sometimes I'll do an action because I'll have clients that are on now quarterly or something. So I have it send them a to-do with a reminder 2 months from now to set up an appointment. But I would love for that reminder to have that link to the schedule. You know what I mean? So is there somewhere that we can access those links for other areas of Coach Accountable or no?
So whatever's available in that area will show. So for instance, okay. Yeah, so it's not like there's a secret list that you're missing. So if I'm adding a worksheet, here's what's available is the stuff that will show here. Client first name, worksheet name, date due, and login link. We don't have stuff notably in here like invoice amount due. That wouldn't make any sense right here because it's not about an invoice, right? So anything that is available in that particular area will show as a clickable thing.
Right. Yeah. I would love for those links to be in, schedule link to be in the action items. Pass that on to what's the name to program.
I will pass that on. Thank you. All right. So we're going to continue on with the course. We're almost done. We only have 2 more steps. So our next step is we get a new course section. So course section, and it's called Key Concepts. And this one has a notification message and subject. So we'll have dear client first name, and actually Todd has created some very specific one here. And I want you to note here that you can do enable formatting. If you wanted to add a video or any kind of other link or anything like that in here, you can add that here as well. This one's just a very simple thing here. And then we have, as you would expect from the other steps, we've got course page content. First thing is interpretation and orientation. And just a little preamble here. I've created a little animation. Cool. Now I'm going to put a file. So these animations, Todd wants them to, he wants to know that they clicked and watched it. He wants to know that they've accessed it before they get to do the next thing. So that is dragging a file. And again, we've got these in the library, interpretation, orientation. Great. Now, once they watch this animation, then they will receive, and again, we're looking at what exactly we're dragging this onto. I could drag it to the day, but I'm dragging it to following once they watch that file. And it is called interpretation and orientation. And then that's it for step 6. Step 7, Course page content, 3 intelligence centers. Again, heading 1, another little preamble. That's it. And we'll do a file. It's called Centers of Intelligence. And once they view this animation, they will receive a worksheet about it. And again, we're checking where this thing is dragging, proceeding, following, and it is 3 intelligence centers. Boom. Once they do this worksheet, they receive another worksheet, and that is 7B, the head center. Once they do the head center, they will learn about the heart center. Once they do the heart center, they will learn the body center. And then once they complete all of these worksheets, they're going to get a little note. And again, we have the arrow here, and it's going to go to the course participant. The subject line is preferred center of intelligence. And then we have, hey, received your worksheet. Thanks for filling it out. Do you have a guess? Blah, blah, blah. Now, I also noticed that Todd's link is here. So I'm going to do enable formatting. And I'm going to link this to his actual thing and save. And I can't remember if this was added to the stream or not. I'm going to say maybe it should be added to the stream because that seems like a good one. Not that the other ones aren't good, Todd. And then, oh, we have 8 steps here. Why did I say 7? So guess what? We get to practice this. I didn't even do this on purpose, but I can drag plus step to the bottom, add another step. Now so also, by the way, check it out here. We can see course section begins here and course section begins here at a quick glance. And I can pop myself around. What was happening in step 4? Oh yeah, let me just collapse this stuff. Let me go down to step 8 again. We have course page content called Uniquely Lopsided. It's my new punk band. And we have, as part of this page content, a video from the library called Uniquely Lopsided. See how nice it is when all this stuff is organized? Like, it makes a huge difference. I'm not digging through stuff, not sure where everything is, all of that. So we've got Uniquely Lopsided, and then that's it for the course page content. And then we also have a worksheet called Uniquely Lopsided Part 1. Following item is another worksheet, Uniquely Lopsided Part 2. Save. And then once they complete both of these, they are done. And we're going to send them a little congratulatory message. This is pretty important. Try to make sure that you do put something to let them know you're done here. Okay, go do some other things, or here's what's next. And Todd did a great job writing this. So they are going to get a message, and it's going to be subject line, you did it. And in this message, we have a video. And oops, that's a photo, video, and it will be, you did it, what next? And then I've got his stuff here, some more content. Great work, you did it, you did all the things this bullet thing did. Click here, that's, remember, the offering link to sign up for the discovery session. We've got this, and we want to make this linked. Great, and this is it. So we did it. And again, we can go through the page display and make sure that it looks how we want it to look. And as they go through these, you know, the things will start filling up in the thing, and we can, oh, one other thing I forgot to do is turn on progress meters. Hello. So again, it's in the course's basics. We already have course pages on, display progress meters. Here's the other thing, a thumbnail. So you want the thumbnail to be square, and you can generate one. We can do that, or we can just upload one. And I'm going to upload one and have it here and save. Oh, 8 steps. Cool. And that's it. So now we see the page display looks like this. We have the completion bar right here. And again, that would show for the client, as well as I can see it on their page, how far along they are. Now, again, how we put somebody into it. This is our new version. We can just add someone here and they would work their way through it. And it's just like this original one. So pies are made. What questions do we have? There can't be no questions. Yes. Okay, great.
I am wondering if there is a length to the videos. I noticed all of Todd's were really short. I think the longest one was 3 minutes. So is there a preferred length for videos?
So, there isn't a limit as far as what Coach Accountable can do. So because you can embed from Vimeo, YouTube, Loom, wherever, they can be as long as you want them to be, and just use the link from those. Now, when it comes to preferred as in effectiveness, right? So like, I really love personally that Todd's videos are 1 to 3 minutes, because as someone, I have ADHD. So like for me, if I had a video pop up that said, this is an hour and a half, like this video that I'm making right now, I wouldn't watch that. There's no way. Or maybe I'd watch a few minutes of it and then come back to it. I do really well with small bite-sized chunks of media, unless I'm going to do something else at the same time. And that's just part of, having that, right? So, I would recommend in general, just for people who are trying to absorb a short, a smaller amount of material, break up a longer video into smaller 5-minute chunks. If you do have an hour and a half of content, that way I can come back later and not have to remember where I stopped and, all of that stuff. That's what I would do.
Question. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So as I watch this, I see Todd has done some amazing work ahead of time to get all of his content together. And then I'm also understanding the instruction of how to create the course. That part actually looks like I can do it eventually, make some mistakes. But the hard part for me is to get all my content together. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the idea? Is this a totally ludicrous idea? Or what about if I start it, start working on my course and start to deploy it to somebody. And then as they do it, and as I'm learning how they respond, then I continue to add steps. Is that a bad idea, or do you think that's workable?
Well, it's workable for day-based courses. So say that your course is 6 months long, you really only need to have the first couple of weeks built. And this is something that I sometimes coach some of our coaches on. It's like, well, it has to be perfect before I launch it. And I just say stuff like, well, if one of your clients said that to you, what would you say? Right. So like, it doesn't need to be perfect before you launch it. It should be good, right? But like not perfect. So if you have maybe just the first few weeks prepared and stay a week or so ahead of where the people will be, that's workable. Where it gets problematic is when you're on the same day. We talked about that earlier. Oh my gosh, I have to send them some stuff and it's not in the timeline. The other thing that it can get problematic is if you're doing a step-based course like this one. Now, say that I have someone who just signed up who's kind of going at the pace I expected. Okay, cool. In a few days, they'll probably get to step 3. And then over the weekend, they had a bunch of time and they did everything. And then they ran out, right? Like that could happen. And you don't want that stress for yourself and for the client. So I would really not recommend that if it's a step-based course, just because like that, I'm just imagining that being just like for everyone.
Got it. So in my case, it is a step-based course, but they necessarily need to do some of the steps 1 or 2 weeks apart, because they've got to absorb and integrate, talk to I work with couples. So you have to do couple work together, that kind of stuff. So in that case, I might actually recommend a day-based course that says, okay, here's all the content from day 1 or week 1. And maybe you do some daisy chaining of items, some of those following items. And then in another week, the next chunk of stuff comes out and they can work through that at their leisure, but they won't receive anything new until the following week. So they're not just like drinking from the fire hose of your coaching. I guess I'll have to read up on that. I guess I still don't understand the difference between the two kinds. One's day-based and one's step-based, because I'm thinking I need step-based. So I don't understand how, I need them to do all these steps before they do the next step and,
Right. So Are you saying, so you're saying you want them to take a couple weeks in between?
Yeah,
when-
mine is not about learning it on a certain time frame.
Mhm.
In fact, if they want to go longer, that's actually better.
Okay, so, but you want them to do all the things before they receive the next things, but they shouldn't receive them for a couple weeks.
Well, I mean, they're going to do, they're going to do some stuff, watch a video, do some stuff, do some homework, check in that they did it. They need to do all that. And that's like, I call that like module 1. And then they'll start module 2, and then they'll start module 3.
So here's something else that you could do. Let's pretend that this is the course. We can add a pause. So you can say, hey, once you complete everything in step 1, there's going to be a pause, and it will resume after 7 days, after 14 days, or I want to manually unpause it. Now, this is very similar to saying I want to manually start them in the next course, once they do that. So this might be something that you would prefer to use, and this is done in a step-based course.
That sounds good. Because in my case, I want them to do some things, and then we're going to have a one-to-one meeting, a live meeting. And only when I've verified that they've mastered this first content, because I may have them go back and do some things, give them some new content. So then I can verify and then say, okay, time to start module 2.
In that case, I would say only when manually unpaused, so that you give the go ahead, boom, start it again. And then you would unpause from that manage participant window, which has a fast forward, rewind, whatever. I do want to acknowledge that it is, we are at 90 minutes. I'm happy to stay on, but I do want to, for anyone who does need to leave, thank you for being here. And thank you, Todd, especially for allowing us to use your content and show that to everyone today. So you're free to go, and you're also free to stay.
Thank you so much.
I have a question for you, Morgan.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to bring a client in through a course. How would I make it so that the course would be how they, like, we've talked a lot about putting someone in a course, but if a client comes across my webpage and they say, hey, this course looks interesting, and I can use it to bring a client in.
Offerings. So I noticed that actually your last thing, let's jump to step 8. Your last thing said, you did it. Consider one of my other courses. You could make each one of these a link to an offering that kicks off another course for them. And the same thing, you could have that be for people who are brand new to the system or brand new to your coaching. They do become a client and start receiving this stuff. So if I were to build this offering, I'm going to plus offering, and I'm going to collect their name, email, and I'll collect their cell because I want them to get the text reminders of anything that's due. What should happen as part of this? No appointment. They're going to kick off a course, and it's going to be, these are the same, and that's it. And it's going to be, maybe I want to make it $30 or whatever, or $100 or $300. You have to set up your payment stuff first. And then you can say, when you're signing up, hey, just pay this much. And you can start any of these courses. When they finish signing up, you're all signed up, blah, 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 register, get started and get going. You can put a video in here as well, confirmation email. And then you can also say, this is only available until a specific date, or only until a certain number of people are in it. So I can keep a lid on that. But also say, when they're coming in for this course, they're not going to need session notes. They're doing a self-paced thing. They're just working through the stuff. We don't have metrics. We don't have actions actually in this course. We don't need a journal. We don't need whiteboards. This is it. So this is what they're going to have: overview, stream, worksheets, files, courses. And so what does this thing look like? You can put this on your site, name, email, cell, and that's it. And then you get the, hey, you signed up. And so then you can have, if you had a few of these, so these are going to be the same, you can put them in a collection. And we can say, I want people to be able to choose between these. Obviously, they're the same. Choose which one you want. You can put a little blurb here. Here's what this one's for. Here's what this one's for. Pick which one you want. Sign up, pay, you're done. I'm going to grab the link to offerings collections so that you can have that, Todd, and that everyone else can have that. And I'm putting that in the chat. Boom. Okay. Does that answer your question, Todd? Cool.
Yes, it does.
All right. What else?
Morgan,
Hi,
one
this is
question.
Trina.
Oh, go ahead. Is there a way to, in a course, if the coach, if I want to get an action item created just for myself, I know how to send myself a message or a reminder, but is there a way I can create an action item that I don't necessarily want the client to see, but as a reminder to hold out there that I need to do for the client?
Good question. There isn't. So you would just want to put a message that says, hey, Jeff, create an action for yourself. So
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I hadn't found it. I was just checking. Thanks.
Hi, this is Trina Morgan.
Hey, Trina.
Hey, okay, so I run a women's network and most of my stuff is coaching, but I was looking at moving my membership, bronze, silver, gold, into CoachAccountable. So each one of those levels have a certain number of courses that will be in each of those groups along with resources, worksheets, etc. So do I just set up 3 separate groups, right? And the courses that I want each of those to have would be in those relevant groups, correct?
Yeah. So are they taking all those courses at the same time, Trina, or do they get to sort of pick and choose as they want?
Yeah, they kind of get to pick and choose what they would like to take. Yes.
So here's what I would do. So I would definitely do the bronze, silver, gold as the groups. I think that's perfect. And then I would put in the group, I'm going to turn on group whiteboards for this group. I would create a whiteboard and call it available courses for bronze. And then put here and do the same thing as I just showed Todd, create an offering for each one and only put the offerings link in here. Not on your website anywhere. So that, bronze people aren't signing up for gold classes and whatever. Course number 1, bronze. And then you just link that right over to the offering and they can choose to sign up for any one of these.
Okay. Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
And don't let them edit it.
Okay. And then just a quick document processing question. When we are bulleting or numbering items, is there a way to put a space in between the bullet or numbered items? I couldn't figure that out. You know, like when you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it looks kind of cluttered when you have more than 1 or 2 sentences for each numbered. Can you?
So yeah, if I put another one,
it doesn't. Yeah, it's not gonna. I just wondered if there was a way to do that.
I think this might be your best bet, Trina, is if you do 2 enters and then delete.
Space. Okay, so it does stay informed then when I do that. Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, that's all I had. Great workshop.
Thank you. All right. Well, it seems like we've kind of exhausted the questions. So thank you again, everyone, for joining and watching as we built the course. And again, thanks, Todd, for building all this stuff with me and allowing me to share it. So thank you, everyone, for being here and have a wonderful day. We'll send out the recording shortly. Bye, everyone.